Your soulmate regrets calling you the biggest mistake of their life. Don't scroll, listen to this because your heart needs this right now. If these words found you today, this message is for you. Out of every video, every voice, and every moment you could have landed on, something pulled you here. Maybe you can't explain it, but your spirit felt it before your mind did. Take a deep breath and listen carefully, because what you're about to hear is not meant to create fear. It is meant to remind you that healing, forgiveness, and transformation often arrive when we least expect them. There was a time when someone who shared a deep connection with you spoke words they wish they could erase forever. Whether they said them in anger, confusion, pain, or pride, those words became a heavy burden they carried long after the moment had passed. They convinced themselves they were making the right decision. They believed walking away would bring peace. They told themselves that leaving you behind was necessary. Some even whispered to themselves that you had been the biggest mistake of their life. But listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Time has a remarkable way of revealing what emotions hide. Distance has a way of exposing truths that pride refuses to acknowledge. What once felt certain has slowly become uncertain. What they believed was freedom has become emptiness. What they once called a mistake has become a memory that refuses to fade. This message is for you. There are nights when they replay conversations they wish they could rewrite. They remember moments when your kindness went unnoticed, when your loyalty was taken for granted, and when your patience was mistaken for weakness. At the time, they couldn't see your value because their own fears were louder than their wisdom. They allowed hurt to speak for them. They let pride make decisions their heart never truly agreed with. Now, silence has become their teacher. Every quiet evening reminds them of what they lost. Every familiar song carries echoes of what could have been. Every unexpected memory asks a question they can no longer ignore: what if I was wrong? Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. Before you assume this message promises a specific future, remember something important. The purpose of this message is not to guarantee that someone will return. It is to remind you that people can change, hearts can awaken, and regret often becomes the beginning of personal growth. Whether your paths cross again or not, the truth remains that genuine love leaves lasting lessons. Sometimes those lessons arrive too late for one person but exactly on time for another. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Perhaps you've been seeing repeating numbers lately. Maybe 111 appeared when you started believing in yourself again. Maybe 222 showed up during moments when you questioned whether balance would ever return to your life. Maybe 444 reminded you that even during lonely seasons, you are supported by something greater than your circumstances. Some people see these as meaningful reminders to pause, reflect, and stay hopeful. Whatever they mean to you personally, let them encourage you to keep moving forward instead of living in yesterday's pain. This message is for you. Your soulmate has begun noticing changes within themselves. The goals they once chased no longer bring the satisfaction they expected. The approval they once sought from others feels temporary. They have started realizing that genuine connection cannot be replaced by distractions. They remember the way you listened without judgment. They remember the way you believed in them before they believed in themselves. They remember the peace that existed before fear took control. Those memories have become impossible to silence. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. There was a moment when they believed admitting they were wrong would make them appear weak. Now they understand that refusing to admit the truth has cost them far more. Pride built walls around their heart, but those walls also trapped them inside. Every day they spend pretending everything is fine becomes another reminder that honesty would have been easier than regret. They are beginning to understand that courage is not walking away from love. Courage is taking responsibility for the pain we caused and choosing to grow from it. This message is for you. While they have been learning these lessons, something equally important has been happening in your life. You have been healing. You have cried tears that nobody saw. You have questioned your worth and slowly discovered that another person's words never had the power to define who you are. You have learned that your value does not rise or fall based on someone else's opinion. That growth matters. It is transforming you into someone who no longer begs for love but recognizes it when it is freely given. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. Imagine your future self looking back on this chapter. They would not only remember the heartbreak. They would remember the strength it awakened. They would remember the boundaries it taught. They would remember the compassion they developed, not only for others but also for themselves. Pain has a way of becoming wisdom when we allow healing to finish its work. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Somewhere, your soulmate is facing memories they once avoided. They realize that calling you a mistake said more about the pain they carried than about the person you truly were. They confused fear with certainty. They confused temporary emotions with permanent truth. Now those illusions are fading. In their place comes humility, reflection, and a quiet desire to become a better person than the one who spoke those hurtful words. This message is for you. If life ever gives you another conversation with them, let it come from a place of peace rather than revenge. If life never brings your paths together again, let this chapter still end with freedom rather than bitterness. Forgiveness does not erase what happened. It simply refuses to let yesterday continue controlling tomorrow. That choice belongs to you. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Your story is still being written. The person who once underestimated your worth does not determine the ending. Your future will be shaped by the healing you choose, the hope you protect, and the courage you show as you continue moving forward. The greatest chapter of your life has never depended on someone else's regret. It has always depended on your willingness to believe that you deserve honesty, respect, kindness, and a love that never needs to tear you down in order to feel powerful. Whether reconciliation becomes part of your journey or simply a lesson that helps you grow, remember this: you were never a mistake. You were a person worthy of love from the very beginning, and no painful sentence spoken in anger could ever rewrite that truth. As you move into the next season of your life, carry hope instead of fear, wisdom instead of resentment, and faith that the right connections, whether old or new, will honor the person you have become. Your heart has survived every chapter that tried to break it, and because of that, it is stronger, wiser, and more prepared than ever for the love and peace that still lie ahead. Don't scroll, listen to this because your heart needs this right now. This message is for you. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when the truth becomes louder than the excuses that have been protecting it. Your soulmate has reached that moment. For so long, they convinced themselves that walking away was the strongest decision they could make. They repeated the same story over and over in their mind, believing that if they said it often enough, it would eventually become true. They told themselves that leaving you behind was necessary. They told themselves they deserved a different future. They even tried to believe the painful words they once spoke, that you were the biggest mistake of their life. But time has a way of exposing the difference between pride and peace. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Every passing day has quietly become a mirror they can no longer avoid. In that mirror, they do not see the confident person they pretended to be. Instead, they see someone who made choices while carrying unresolved fear. They remember conversations that ended too quickly, messages they never answered, moments when your kindness was met with silence, and opportunities to choose understanding instead of anger. Those memories return unexpectedly. A familiar road. A favorite song. A quiet evening after a long day. The smallest details awaken emotions they thought had disappeared forever. This message is for you. They have begun asking themselves difficult questions. What if they misunderstood your heart? What if they confused your patience with weakness? What if the love they walked away from was the very thing they had been searching for ever since? These questions have no easy answers, but they continue returning because genuine reflection cannot be silenced forever. Every attempt to bury the truth only causes it to rise again in a different form. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. While they have been wrestling with these thoughts, something equally important has been happening inside you. You have been rebuilding yourself one quiet day at a time. There were mornings when simply getting out of bed required courage. There were nights when the silence felt overwhelming. You questioned your value because someone else's words cut deeper than you ever admitted. Yet little by little, your heart began remembering something essential. Another person's opinion, spoken during a moment of pain or anger, could never define your worth. Healing did not happen all at once. It arrived in small victories. One peaceful morning. One boundary you finally kept. One moment when you realized you no longer needed someone's approval to believe in yourself. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Sometimes people speak from their wounds instead of their wisdom. They project their fears onto those who love them most. They mistake vulnerability for danger and kindness for something that can always be found again later. By the time they recognize the difference, the silence they created has become heavier than the words they once spoke. That realization is now becoming part of your soulmate's journey. They cannot rewrite the past, but they are beginning to understand it with new eyes. This message is for you. Growth often begins with regret, but it cannot end there. Regret without change becomes another prison. Real transformation requires humility. It requires taking responsibility without making excuses. It requires accepting that love cannot flourish where honesty is absent. Your soulmate is standing at the edge of that realization. They are discovering that strength is not pretending to have no regrets. Strength is admitting that fear influenced decisions they wish they had handled differently. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. You may have noticed changes within yourself that once seemed impossible. You no longer chase people who repeatedly choose distance. You no longer ignore red flags simply because you fear being alone. You have learned that peace is more valuable than uncertainty. Those lessons were expensive, but they made you wiser. No matter what happens next, no one can take that wisdom away from you. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. If your paths ever cross again, you will not be the same person who once accepted less than you deserved. You will meet that moment with clearer eyes, stronger boundaries, and a deeper understanding of your own value. And if your paths never cross again, your healing still matters. Your future is not dependent on someone else's regret. Your future is built by the choices you make today. The choice to forgive without forgetting the lessons, the choice to hope without abandoning discernment, and the choice to remain open to the kind of love that brings peace instead of confusion. This message is for you. Somewhere, your soulmate is beginning to realize that the harshest words they ever spoke were never a reflection of your worth. They were a reflection of the fear they had not yet healed. That truth is becoming impossible for them to ignore. Every day, they understand a little more. Every quiet moment brings another layer of clarity. Every honest reflection reveals another piece of the person they are becoming. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Your story has never been defined by the sentence someone spoke in anger. It has always been defined by the courage you found afterward. Whether life brings reconciliation, closure, or an entirely new beginning with someone who values you from the start, trust that every lesson has prepared you for a healthier chapter. The road ahead is not about reliving old pain. It is about walking forward with wisdom, compassion, and confidence. And as your soulmate continues confronting the truth they once tried to escape, one final realization is drawing near. A realization that has the power to change the direction of their heart forever, because they are finally beginning to understand that the greatest mistake of their life was never loving you, it was failing to recognize your worth when they had the chance. Don't scroll. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. This message is for you. There comes a point when the heart grows tired of pretending. It grows tired of repeating the same excuses, hiding behind the same fears, and carrying the same regrets. Your soulmate has reached that place. For the first time in a long time, they are no longer asking themselves whether they made the right choice. Instead, they are asking why they spent so much time convincing themselves that losing you was a victory when every passing season has only reminded them of what they truly lost. The silence they once believed would bring peace has become louder than any argument they ever had with you. Every quiet evening feels different now. Every accomplishment feels incomplete. Every celebration ends with an emptiness they cannot explain. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. The universe has a way of slowing people down when they are finally ready to face the truth. The distractions that once kept their mind busy are no longer working. The goals they chased no longer fill the space inside their heart. They find themselves thinking about conversations they dismissed too quickly. They remember the warmth of your presence, the patience you showed, the encouragement you offered when no one else believed in them. At the time, they overlooked those moments because they assumed they would always have another chance. Now they understand that love should never be treated like something guaranteed. This message is for you. While your soulmate is learning these difficult lessons, you have been discovering something equally powerful. You have started choosing yourself without feeling guilty. You have begun protecting your peace instead of sacrificing it to keep someone else comfortable. There was a time when you questioned everything about yourself after hearing those painful words. You wondered if you had somehow failed, if you could have loved harder, spoken differently, or waited longer. But healing has slowly revealed the truth. Healthy love is never sustained by one person carrying all the weight. A relationship cannot flourish when only one heart is fighting for it. That realization has become one of your greatest strengths. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. There are moments when your soulmate catches themselves smiling at a memory before realizing it is connected to you. A simple laugh, an ordinary afternoon, a quiet drive, or a shared dream suddenly returns with surprising clarity. They begin to understand that the happiest parts of their past were not built around perfect circumstances. They were built around genuine connection. The things they once took for granted have become the things they miss the most. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Regret is a strange teacher. It does not arrive all at once. It comes in small waves. A familiar place. A meaningful date. A random photograph. A song heard in a grocery store. Little by little, the heart begins collecting pieces of the truth until it can no longer deny what it has been avoiding. That is where your soulmate stands today. They are beginning to see that the sentence they once spoke in anger became the sentence they wish they could erase more than any other. This message is for you. Yet the universe is also reminding you of something important. Someone else's regret is not the foundation of your future. Your future is built upon your healing, your wisdom, and your willingness to keep believing that respectful, honest love is possible. Whether your soulmate returns to seek forgiveness or whether your journey leads you toward an entirely different chapter, your value remains unchanged. You were never made more worthy by someone's approval, and you were never made less worthy by someone's rejection. Listen to this. Because your heart needs this right now. Imagine your soulmate sitting alone late at night after everyone else has gone to sleep. There is no one left to impress. No expectations to meet. No distractions left to hide behind. Only honesty remains. It is in moments like these that they finally admit what they have been afraid to say even to themselves. They whisper the truth they once fought so hard to avoid: I was wrong. Those three simple words carry years of emotion. They are not spoken lightly. They are born from reflection, humility, and the painful understanding that fear influenced choices more than love ever did. This message is for you. You may never know exactly when this realization happened. Growth often takes place quietly. Hearts rarely transform in dramatic moments. Instead, they change through countless ordinary days filled with reflection. Your soulmate is becoming someone different from the person who once allowed pride to speak louder than compassion. Whether that change leads to reconciliation or simply helps them become a better person, it is still meaningful. Real growth always begins with truth. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. As you continue moving forward, pay attention to your own heart rather than chasing signs from the outside world. Notice how much calmer you have become. Notice how quickly you recognize what brings peace and what creates confusion. Notice how your standards have changed. These are signs of your own transformation. You are no longer waiting for someone else to tell you that you deserve love. You already know it. That quiet confidence is one of the greatest gifts healing can give. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. The next chapter of this story is not simply about regret. It is about redemption, accountability, and the courage to face the consequences of past choices. Your soulmate is approaching a crossroads where silence is no longer enough. They understand that wishing they had done things differently cannot change yesterday. Only honesty can shape tomorrow. Whether they find the courage to speak or whether life leads your paths in different directions, one truth remains certain: the painful words that once defined your ending no longer define your future. Your future belongs to the stronger, wiser version of you that refused to let heartbreak become your identity. Don't scroll, listen to this because your heart needs this right now. This message is for you. There are moments in life when everything appears quiet on the outside, yet beneath the surface, entire seasons are changing. That is where this story has arrived. The person who once believed those painful words would protect them is discovering that no amount of distance can silence a truth that has taken root in the heart. They once convinced themselves that calling you the biggest mistake of their life would help them close the door forever. Instead, those words became the very sentence that now echoes back to them whenever life becomes still. Every time they remember that moment, they wish they had chosen patience instead of anger, honesty instead of pride, understanding instead of fear. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Regret has transformed into reflection, and reflection has become the beginning of wisdom. They are finally seeing what they could not see before. They remember how often you stood beside them during difficult moments. They remember the encouragement you gave when they doubted themselves. They remember the conversations that brought comfort after long days. At the time, they assumed those moments would always be there. They believed your love was something that could wait while they figured everything else out. Only after losing that steady presence did they realize how rare it truly was. This message is for you. While they have been learning these lessons, you have been walking your own path of healing. There was a season when hearing those painful words made you question everything about yourself. You replayed old conversations in your mind, wondering whether one different choice could have changed the ending. You searched for reasons, blamed yourself for things that were never yours to carry, and hoped that somehow the pain would make sense. But healing has slowly taught you something far more powerful. You are not responsible for another person's inability to recognize your value. Love cannot grow where respect is missing, and no amount of sacrifice can replace mutual honesty. That truth has become one of the strongest foundations of your future. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. Somewhere, your soulmate has begun comparing every new connection to the peace they once experienced with you. They are discovering that excitement fades when trust is absent. They are realizing that appearances mean very little without emotional safety. The qualities they overlooked in the past have become the very qualities they now long for most. Every experience since your separation has quietly revealed another lesson. Every disappointment has become another reminder that genuine love is not measured by perfection but by consistency, kindness, and the willingness to grow together. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. There is a quiet battle taking place inside them. One part of their heart wants to reach out, to admit they were wrong, to acknowledge the pain they caused. Another part is afraid. Afraid you have already moved on. Afraid you no longer care. Afraid that the bridge they burned cannot be rebuilt. Fear often arrives after pride has already done its damage. It whispers that it is too late, that forgiveness is impossible, that silence is safer than vulnerability. Yet the heart continues reminding them that avoiding the truth has never brought peace. This message is for you. Whether or not they ever find the courage to speak, remember this. Your healing does not depend on their apology. Closure is valuable, but it is not the only path to peace. You have already begun creating a future that is rooted in self-respect rather than waiting for someone else's realization. Every step you have taken toward emotional healing has been preparing you for relationships built on trust instead of uncertainty. That preparation matters because it ensures that your next chapter, whatever it looks like, is healthier than the last. Listen to this. Because your heart needs this right now. Imagine your soulmate sitting alone after another ordinary day. The house is quiet. The phone is silent. There are no distractions left. For the first time, they allow themselves to feel everything they spent so long avoiding. They remember your laughter. They remember your patience. They remember the moments when you chose understanding even when you had every reason to walk away. Then they remember the words they spoke, words that cannot be taken back. In that moment, they finally understand that the deepest wounds are often created by sentences spoken in anger but remembered for years. This message is for you. Yet this story is not only about regret. It is also about transformation. The person who once acted from fear is slowly becoming someone capable of honesty. Growth is rarely dramatic. It happens through quiet decisions made over time. Choosing humility instead of pride. Choosing accountability instead of excuses. Choosing truth instead of pretending nothing happened. These small choices shape a different future, one decision at a time. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. The universe is also asking you to notice how much you have changed. You no longer measure your worth by whether someone chooses you. You have discovered that real confidence comes from knowing who you are even when someone else fails to recognize it. You have learned to protect your peace without closing your heart. You have realized that forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same thing. Forgiveness frees you from carrying resentment. Reconciliation, if it ever happens, requires trust, accountability, and consistent change. That distinction has made you wiser. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. If your soulmate ever stands before you again, they will not meet the same person they once left behind. They will meet someone stronger, calmer, and more aware of their own value. And they, too, will not be the same person who once spoke from anger. Life has been teaching both of you different lessons through different journeys. Whether those journeys eventually meet again or continue separately is something only time can reveal. What matters today is that both hearts have been changed by what they experienced. This message is for you. Never believe that your story was defined by the worst thing someone said during their darkest moment. Your story is defined by the courage you showed afterward. It is defined by your willingness to heal instead of becoming bitter, to learn instead of giving up, and to keep believing that love built on honesty still exists. The future belongs to the version of you that refused to let pain become your identity. As this chapter comes to a close, another one begins quietly in the distance. Your soulmate is standing closer than ever to a decision that requires complete honesty. The next step will ask them to set aside pride, accept responsibility, and face whatever answer awaits with humility. And when that moment finally arrives, both of your lives will be shaped not by the mistakes of the past, but by the choices each of you makes after the truth has finally been spoken. Don't scroll. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. This message is for you. There are moments when a person's life quietly divides into two chapters, the chapter before they accepted the truth, and the chapter after they could no longer run from it. Your soulmate has reached that dividing line. For so long, they carried the weight of their own decisions without allowing themselves to examine what those choices truly cost. They stayed busy. They distracted themselves. They convinced themselves that enough time would erase the memories. Yet every season that passed revealed something they never expected. Time did not erase you. It simply stripped away every excuse that once made it easier to ignore what their heart had been trying to tell them all along. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. The sentence they once spoke in anger has become the sentence they hear inside their own mind more than any other. They remember the look in your eyes. They remember the silence that followed. They remember the version of themselves that believed harsh words could protect them from vulnerability. Looking back now, they barely recognize that person. Pain has a way of changing people, but honest reflection changes them even more. They are beginning to understand that the greatest damage was never done by the argument itself. It was done by allowing fear to speak louder than love. This message is for you. While they have been confronting the past, you have been building a future. It didn't happen overnight. Some mornings still felt heavy. Some memories still returned without warning. There were days when healing seemed painfully slow. But every step forward mattered, even the smallest ones. Every time you chose peace instead of chasing answers, you reclaimed another part of yourself. Every time you refused to let bitterness define your heart, you became stronger than the pain that once threatened to consume you. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. You may not always recognize how much you've changed because growth often happens quietly. It happens in the way you protect your energy. It happens in the boundaries you no longer apologize for. It happens when you stop trying to convince people to love you correctly and instead begin believing that the right people never need convincing. That transformation has become one of your greatest victories. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Somewhere, your soulmate has started imagining conversations that have never taken place. They replay different versions of what they wish they had said. They wonder what would have happened if they had chosen honesty instead of pride. They imagine telling you that they were afraid. That they confused emotional walls with emotional strength. That they thought pushing you away would somehow protect them from being hurt first. These imagined conversations have become reminders that some truths cannot remain buried forever. This message is for you. Yet the universe also reminds you of something important. Regret alone does not rebuild trust. Words alone do not heal wounds. Lasting change is shown through consistent actions, humility, accountability, and respect. If someone truly grows, that growth becomes visible over time. You are no longer called to ignore your own needs in the hope that another person might eventually change. You have learned that healthy love requires both hearts to move toward each other with honesty. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. There is another lesson unfolding beneath the surface. Sometimes we believe losing someone teaches us about them, but often it teaches us about ourselves. Your soulmate is discovering parts of their own character they never examined before. They are recognizing patterns they repeated in past relationships. They are noticing how fear shaped their choices. Instead of blaming circumstances, they are beginning to accept responsibility. That realization is uncomfortable, but it is also where genuine growth begins. This message is for you. You have probably asked yourself more than once whether everything you shared truly mattered. Let your heart hear this clearly: meaningful connections leave lasting lessons, even when relationships change. The kindness you gave was real. The effort you invested was real. The love you offered was real. Even if another person failed to recognize its value at the time, that does not make it any less genuine. Love offered with sincerity is never wasted because it also shapes the person who gives it. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. There will always be people who recognize your worth too late. There will always be people who understand your value only after your absence creates a space they cannot fill. But your future is not built on waiting for delayed appreciation. Your future is built on continuing to become someone who refuses to settle for anything less than mutual respect. That is the lesson your heart has earned through every difficult chapter. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Imagine your soulmate standing at the edge of a decision they cannot postpone much longer. They understand that silence no longer protects anyone. They understand that pretending nothing happened only keeps them trapped in yesterday. Whether they ever reach out or not, something inside them has already changed forever. They can no longer honestly believe the words they once spoke. They know now that calling you the biggest mistake of their life was never the truth. The real mistake was allowing fear, pride, and unresolved pain to overshadow someone who cared deeply for them. That realization has become impossible to escape. This message is for you. As your journey continues, remember that forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, not permission for someone else to repeat old patterns. You can remain compassionate while still honoring your boundaries. You can wish someone healing while protecting your own peace. Those two things can exist together. They are signs of emotional strength, not contradiction. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. The next chapter of this story will not revolve around the pain of the past. It will revolve around the courage required to face the future. A moment is approaching when truth can no longer remain hidden behind old excuses. Hearts that have grown apart will be forced to confront what they have learned. Questions that have remained unanswered will finally demand honesty. Whether that honesty leads to reconciliation, closure, or a completely new beginning, one thing has become certain: neither of you is the same person you were when those painful words were first spoken. Life has changed you. Healing has strengthened you. Wisdom has reshaped you. And the final chapter will reveal whether regret becomes nothing more than a memory, or the beginning of a redemption neither of you believed was still possible.